East Central gets money for each student who attends the school. Across Iowa, enrollment is down. People are having fewer children and leaving Iowa to work and raise families in other parts of the country. East Central's enrollment dropped 55 students from 2006 to 2011. State standards for students are higher than ever. High schools have to offer more courses and have them taught by highly qualified teachers. East Central compared offerings and found that by sharing classes primarily with Northeast instead of Preston, they could offer students more than 20 additional classes. They made the switch for EC students and continued to allow students to attend classes in Preston if they wanted to take them there. In 2010, Governor Culver ordered a 10% across-the-board reduction, so all districts got less money. During the same time period, East Central's annual bills increased by over $700,000. Over half of that increase was the result of EC's legal obligation to pay for the AEA-determined accommodations of students receiving special education services. To prevent having to raise taxes, East Central used money from their unspent balance to cover the increase in bills and the reduction in funds. By 2009, East Central's unspent balance was only 14% more than their expenses for that year. EC could not continue to spend down their unspent balance at this rate. They needed to be proactive. East Central made cuts in staff and other expenses. East Central evaluated the money they were spending busing students to and from Northeast and/or Preston every block of the school day. Transporting students during the school day was also resulting in a loss of learning time because students were arriving late and leaving early to and from class. How could East Central keep the elementary students local, prevent tax increases, and provide middle and high school students with a complete education on one campus so students weren't riding a bus when they should have been learning? East Central began seriously investigating whole grade sharing as a long-term solution to increased expenses and declining enrollment. The collaboration between Northeast and East Central was positive. But sadly, whole grade sharing meant discontinuing 7 through 12 rater classes and activities. But projections indicated that whole grade sharing would return East Central to financial security for years to come, despite declining enrollment predictions. What was happening in Preston at the same time? Enrollment in Preston stayed about the same, from 345 in 2006 to 346 in 2011. But steady enrollment didn't result in financial security for Preston. From 2006 to 2009, Preston also experienced increases in expenditures, and their unspent balance also went down. Unspent budget authority is an indicator of a school's financial health, and Preston's unspent balance was more than $500,000 less than East Central's. Preston was busing students to Northeast for classes too. When Preston's unspent balance was at an all-time low, and when East Central was already in a positive sharing relationship with Northeast and discussing further sharing, suddenly, Preston wanted to reorganize with East Central. Preston was invited to take part in studies to consider reorganizing all three districts. Those studies are a requirement for state benefits for whole grade sharing. Preston's board said no to whole grade sharing. The concept of Easton Valley was adopted from a citizens group as a dream for keeping schools in Preston. Preston heavily recruited students from East Central. People were asked to sign a petition to save our mom's job, sign a petition to make our schools better, sign a petition to prove that you make your own decisions. Most people didn't really know what they were signing. They even used the RTA to get around the rules preventing neighboring schools from running bus routes through each other's districts. East Central knew that merging with Preston would reduce students' opportunities and put taxpayers at risk. It was not a long-term solution, and so East Central stood up for East Central. Preston needed EC students, and the recruiting worked. Preston's enrollment grew to 423 0.9 total students served in 2011-2012, and their unspent balance went up due to the money pulled into Preston from East Central. When EC was hit by the unexpected open enrollments out, East and Valley supporters claimed EC was going broke and Preston was helping EC. But EC is not going broke. The opposite is true. Whole grade sharing cut EC's expenses and saved EC money. East Central is rebounding, and they continue to have a positive sharing relationship with Northeast. These are the facts about how whole grade sharing has affected East Central. Preston's financial improvement is the direct result of recruiting students from East Central. Where would they be if East Central students had not been recruited? Projections show enrollment in an East and Valley district declining. Even using overly optimistic figures, the reorganized district would not even be able to afford to offer a comprehensive high school experience on one campus. They will bus students over 20 miles to Maquoketa. East Central and Preston are two separate districts who have followed two very different paths. One path was about reacting to EC's progress with Northeast by recruiting students from EC to keep schools in Preston. East Central's path was about finding a partner to provide a great education for 7 through 12 students who are now spending more time learning and less time traveling. EC protected our elementaries and taxpayers. That is still East Central's path. Keeping East Central saves dollars and makes sense. On September 11th, vote no.